city's so real. National Geographic, your new documentary. How does it feel to have it finally come out? Because I know you had mentioned in the Q&A yesterday after the premiere that it was supposed to be a just one documentary, not divided into 5 episodes. How does it
Yeah.
feel to finally have it come out?
It feels great to have it come out now. Yes, when we originally went out to make it, it was going to be a standalone film. Then it became a 4-part docuseries. And then when the pandemic hit and George Floyd hit, it became a 5-part docuseries, so that we did that last episode. So it's great. It's been a lot of work. It's also been a tremendous amount of fun and very enlightening.
And you really delve into a lot of issues that are not only happening in Chicago, but all over this country right now. How willing were people to be able to lend themselves to this documentary, since it really is a Chicago story, but Chicago is the epicenter of what the United States is going through right now?
Well, I think that's the answer. I think, yes, Chicago's a uniquely interesting, complicated, fascinating place. And we certainly wanted to give viewers that sense of what makes it such a special place and a unique place. But at the same time, it is a kind of quintessential American city. And so what goes on here is going on everywhere. And I think that's never been more true than now in the wake of George Floyd. I mean, I think a lot of cities around the country are kind of discovering what Chicago has already discovered, which is there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed, whether it's police relationships in communities, violence, gentrification, social inequities. These are all things that Chicago has been grappling with and continues to grapple with, and those are American problems.
Right. And yesterday I was able to see episode 5, which was amazing. It just seems very, for me looking at it, I'm just like, how much footage were you able to, did you leave on the cutting room floor? Because you're saying so much in that episode. And it's entitled, You Gotta Make It or You Gotta Take It. How did you come up with that title for episode 5?
Well, that's actually a direct quote from Neil Salas Griffin near the end of the episode. But at one point near the very end of the episode, he's talking about how we need real change here, and it's time. And he says at one point, he says, you got to make it or you got to take it. And we just thought that quote kind of summed up the moment we're living in, and I think what the episode's about.
Yeah, and in that episode, I was just kind of like, you're already delving into what we've went through with COVID. I mean, how was it to shoot, and how much did it change for you to get that footage, and in such a last minute?
Yeah. Well, we had to, we took as many precautions as we could reasonably take and still get out there and do what we had to do. So, we wore masks, we wore gloves, we sanitized frequently, we maintained distance. We did everything we could to make sure that neither we were infected nor that we would infect others, right? That's the whole idea. But it was important that we get out there. You at first, when the pandemic hit and we started filming, I did a number of Zoom interviews. And while that was okay for that moment, it just doesn't compare with meeting people where they are and seeing them. And I think we all know that now, right? living in isolation. Zoom calls are great, but
it's not the same. It really isn't the same. Especially when you're interviewing somebody for a documentary that's so important like this one, and you have to do it over a Zoom call. It's very different, very different.
Yeah.
But you said you go into so much, especially with the businesses and how it affected many of the businesses, especially the Asian businesses in the city, which a lot of people, when you see it in the news, were not talking to. I mean, how important was it to make sure you covered every aspect of what the city was going through?
Well, you can't do it all. And even in a 5.5-hour series, there's so much we did not get. But we tried to do what you just said, which is to make sure we featured the voices that are not commonly heard. And so that sent us to Chinatown to sort of see kind of the ground zero, if you will, of the pandemic in Chicago in terms of people's awareness and fears. That was kind of ground zero. And it also sent us back to some of the other businesses that we got to know in the first 4 episodes, like Daly's, the great South Side restaurant at 63rd and Cottage Grove. We wanted to go back and see how they were doing. That's why we reconnect with people that you meet in the first 4 episodes, because my hope is that you have a connection to them through those first 4 episodes, and that you do want to know how they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And with the George Floyd civil unrest, you really showed something that was, I noticed looking at the coverage, that every city had a different type of unrest. Where Chicago was more like you talk about the protesting and how there was a lot of peaceful protesting, and then with the looting, where the looting was more, you showed that it was more, they were protecting their own businesses, but the ones from the outside, the major corporations, were the ones that they're looting. And that's something I didn't see nobody ever report on here in Los Angeles, where I'm at.
Yeah.
How important was it to show about the community and how the community strength within that?
Well, that's why I think, I think, look, the looting hurt everybody, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not a good thing. And there are plenty of Black residents in those neighborhoods that decried the looting and felt like, what's going on here? At the same time, it was important to get a sense of on the ground of how it transpired and how it was viewed in those communities. And so that's why it was important to hear from different people that could shed light on that. I remember talking to Edwin, the pharmacist owner of Del Car, who's in the series earlier and also in episode 5, and saying, to him, so how much danger did you feel your pharmacy was in when the looting happened? And he said, actually, I wasn't too worried about it, because we are a local Black-owned business, and there was a sense of, I felt more protected because of that.
And last question, you live in Chicago, so it was very much, once again, like as in Hoop Dreams and many of your other documentaries, Chicago's your hometown. How was it to document your hometown, your current hometown, in
Yes.
this way?
Well, it was the job of a lifetime, really. I mean, no matter how long you live in a place and how many films I may have done that focus on Chicago, there's so much more to it. If I went out now and made this series again, I could make a completely different 5.5-hour series. So it was a joy. It was illuminating. It gave me reason to go to neighborhoods that I hadn't been to, and meet people, of course, that I never would have met otherwise. So, I mean, it's what I live for when I make documentaries. It's the people I meet that are the most memorable, that make me want to keep going back and doing this kind of work.
Yeah, great. I loved it. I'm looking forward to seeing it again this Thursday, October 29th at 7 p.m. Thank you so much, Steve, for sitting with us and talking about the documentary, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the interview.